What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. It's Ars. Let's get productive. So today I want to talk about something new from Baby Audio. Now, you already know Baby Audio is constantly coming out with innovative, new, really cool and fun ways to shorten the curve in regards to ease of use when it comes to plugins. Still waiting for them to come out with a really dope VST, because I feel like if Baby Audio comes out with a VST, you know, instruments or a drum machine or something like that, it's going to really change the game, especially the way they're going to do it if they implement all of the effects and plugins that they've come out with into the VST. But that's a whole nother topic. Today we're here to talk about their brand new plugin, IHNY-2, their brand new compressor. Now, the IHNY compressor was a parallel style compression. It gave you that parallel compression sound inside of one compressor. So it really made things a lot easier in regards to parallel compression, to jam-pack that entire New York compression sound and parallel compression sound and technique into one easy to use plugin. And with this new plugin, they've taken that and they've revamped it and taken it to a whole new level. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Baby Audio, IHNY-2. Let's see what this compressor is all about. So as always, I have Logic queued up and this is IHNY-2. Now, as you can see, they already came with a whole new design and a whole new feel to the IHNY compressor. Let me bring up the old one really quickly just so you can compare the two, just as far as aesthetics go, just as far as looks. We'll get into the differences between the two compressors in a second. Now, this is the original IHNY right here, and this is the new one. They simplified the design and made it a little bit cleaner in its UI look and feel. I actually like the original design a lot. Like, I like how it looks with the red lines all on it and the little heart thing in the middle. But as far as what you can do in this new compressor, the new design serves to aid you a bit better in all of the extra settings and parameters that you can kind of play around with. I think this new aesthetic and this new look works a lot better for what this new plugin actually is. Really simply put, before we get into the IHNY compressor, let's talk a little bit about what parallel compression actually is, also known as New York style compression. They used it in a lot of early 90s hip hop. They used it in a lot of tracks to really get the maximum impact and the maximum punch out of your audio signal. So they would take a compressor and really ramp it up to the max, almost like they're about to crunch the hell out of the audio signal via the threshold and all of that. So instead of taking the compressor and adding it directly onto whatever audio signal you were going to add it to, you add it to something like a bus track, and then you would send an audio signal so you can take a really aggressive sounding compressor and tame it and introduce it to your audio signal as much as you want to. So that way you don't over crunch your vocals or over crunch your audio signal, but you can really still get a lot of punch out of it. So you just kind of tame it and mix between the dry and the wet signal. That's pretty much what parallel compression is. Now, what Baby Audio did with the IHNY compressor is they put that entire technique into one plugin. So what we have here is the IHNY-2 compressor, which takes that idea and that original plugin to a whole nother level. Let's check this thing out. Now, if you look right here, we already spoke about it. Really clean, really simple UI design. I like it, and I like it for what this plugin actually does. It gives you some extra parameters inside of the plugin that you didn't get with the original IHNY plugin. So if you look right here where it says tweak, if you hit tweak, you have these extra settings right here. I always love Baby Audio's take on the style via the UI and how they represent the different settings inside of their plugins. So you still have your attack and your ratio, you have your threshold and all of that stuff, but instead of it just being straightforward threshold knob that you turn and ratio knob that you turn, you have these kind of automation faders down here where it's like two little points and you can make adjustments via that fader. So right here you have your attack, and you can adjust the attack by moving it left to right. You can adjust the release by moving that from left to right. Over here you have your ratio, and you can adjust the ratio. Right here you have your punch knob where you can really emphasize the attack transients. Right here you have your harmonics knob, and it adds a little bit of saturation to your audio signal. You have your shaper right here, which is going to emphasize the high and the low frequencies inside your audio signal. You have your tilt knob right here, which is really cool. And that's going to tell the plugin if you want to have it focus more on the high frequencies or the low frequencies of your audio signal. And right here, you have your low preserve and your high preserve. And what this is going to do is you can make adjustments right here. You see it sliding left to right. Any frequencies below the cutoff points right here. So for example, right here, this is your low preserve. Any frequencies in front of this line right here are going to get ignored. And you can see as I move this fader back and forth right here, you can see 185 hertz, 198 hertz. You're kind of making adjustments to the parameters of where you want the compressor to take effect. So that's really cool. You can close that panel, but that alone already takes this plugin to a new level, and it's something new that the original version didn't have, and it makes things a lot easier. So you can get that heavy, extreme punch out of your track, but you can still dive in deeper a little bit. And if you want to get a little more intricate, you can push and pull those faders to get the exact sound that you're going for out of the plugin and into your track. And that's really, really dope. Over here, you have an auto gain. So they have the AI situation set up like a lot of their plugins do already. There's a lot going on in the algorithm. They have that set up for you already. So if you want to make adjustments to the auto gain, which is what it automatically does as soon as the audio signal is sent into this plugin, there's an auto gain set up, but you can make your own adjustments to that gain by just moving this fader back and forth right here. You have your output fader, and right here in the center, you have your really fun section where you can kind of take this little ball right here and drag it around and go all crazy with it. Adjust the amount of compression you want to add into your audio signal by moving this little ball right here to the right, or moving it down to the left. And you can adjust the wet and the dry signal right here by turning it up. Turning it up is going to introduce more of that audio signal into the compression, and turning it down is going to introduce less of that audio signal. So you can kind of play around here and put this ball, which you can say that this ball represents your audio signal. You can put it anywhere you want on the stage here to kind of get the sound that you're going for. And that's really cool. Just a different technique to compression, a different look, a different style to the compression. Really, really dope. Right up here at the top is where you're going to have your presets, and there will be presets loaded up. And as always, you can save your own presets. And over here on the left, you have your oversampling section, and you have everything from 1 time to 4 times oversampled. And that's really it. Really straightforward, really easy and simple to use compressor. And I love that, because certain compressors can get a little difficult if you don't really know how to use compression. It can get a little bit difficult. And I love that Baby Audio's mission is to always make the ease of use factor in their plugins like one of the main focuses in what they're doing. And they don't just do that by how they set the plugin up, you know, with the AI technology and all of the different algorithms they have going on behind the plugin. They also do it in front of the plugin with the way they set up the UI design. So it's really easy to use and really easy on the eyes. And I love that about their plugins. So what we're gonna do is, I have a really simple beat set up right here. I have a melody set up, some drums set up, and we're gonna add this thing to a few elements of the beat, and we're gonna play around with it so that you can hear for yourself what this thing sounds like when it's in effect. Let's just see what this thing can do. So we're gonna start off with this sound right here, one of the sounds in the beat that I made, and I'm gonna play it with no compression on. So let's just play the sound first. So that's like the main chords in the beat that I just did. Now what I want to do with that is add a little bit of a ceiling to that sound so that the audio is a little bit even throughout, and there's no like extra high points in the volume and extra low points in the volume. Just kind of glue it together a little bit more so that the sound is a little bit more consistent. So let's see if we can add a bit of a ceiling there, and let's see what we can do with this sound. So I'm gonna turn this thing on now. And as you can see, as soon as you turn it on, you get that spherical vibe in the center there. to kind of give you an idea of what's happening visually with the audio signal. And if you wanted to, you could just keep it very straightforward, just like your basic New York style compression. Don't even tweak it or add any adjustments to any of the parameters of anything. You can just push this ball over here to the right or the left and mix it between the dry and the wet and get the sound that you're going for. But obviously, I'm going to show you guys some other things you can do. So what we'll do is we'll start all the way over here and we're going to add max compression and introduce the entire audio signal into the compressor to hear what that sounds like. Now, the reason I like to start there is because when I'm using my compression, I like to really turn it all the way up to the max and really crush the audio signal so I can hear what it sounds like at its max. So, for example, if you really turn that threshold on your compressor all the way up to the max and just crush the audio signal, when you start to make adjustments to the attack, you can actually hear how much of the audio signal it's letting through, because you have the threshold turned all the way up. So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say I turn the attack all the way down to 1 millisecond. As you can hear, it's completely compressing the signal. Now listen back, I'm gonna slowly start to adjust the attack and bypass some of those immediate transients in the audio signal so that you can let some of that audio signal breathe before the compressor takes effect and grabs that audio signal. So listen, I'm gonna start to bypass it, listen. And because I have that threshold really turned up, I can actually hear how much of the original audio signal the compressor is letting breathe and letting through because I have it crunched so much. But that's my point, that when you have this thing turned up to the max, any little adjustments you do down here to the tweak section, you'll really be able to hear what it's doing to your audio signal because you have so much compression on it. So any movement you make in any of those faders is going to sound big to you. And then when you finish making all of your tweaks and making it sound the way you want it to sound, then you can start dialing back that wet signal and bringing it back to the dry signal to blend the audio signal in with the compression so that the compression is not too much and too overpowering, and it's not like completely crushing the dynamics of your sound. So like, let's continue to mess around with the ratio a little bit. You can play around with the punch a little bit. And now that I tweaked the sound a little bit, I'm gonna start to play around with that dry and wet signal and blend it between the dry and the wet signal to get the sound to sound exactly how I want it to sound and not over crunch the sound and crush all the dynamics out. There we go. And now I got my sound sounding exactly how I want it to sound. We'll bypass it. So this is the sound without any of the iHeart compression on. And this is the sound with the compressor on. Just slight glue onto that sound to just kind of give it a sealing and make it sit perfectly in the mix. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send the drums to a bus track and I'm gonna just add this compressor over all of the drums and see what it does to the drums. Let's see what it sounds like. So as you can hear, I have it turned all the way up to the max, but I just wanna hear what it's doing. That's why I'm turning it up like that. And this is a perfect example of what I mean. As you can hear, when I have the attack turned all the way down, it's not letting any of those initial transients through. It's completely crushing all of the attack and the transients of those drums. But since I have the compressor turned all the way up to the max, I can like make adjustments to the attack and actually hear what it's doing. So check this out. There we go. Now I'm gonna move the compressor out of those lower frequencies so it doesn't completely crush all of the low frequencies in the drums, like the kick and all of that stuff. And now I'm gonna just blend that between the dry and the wet signal. Okay, and these are the drums without any of the compression on it. And this is it with the IHNY-2 compressor. Now, one of the things I did inside of this thing is I didn't mix the drums. I just took all of those instruments and sent them to a bus track and threw this compressor on the bus track to kind of try to tame everything at one time. And that's the result of what I got. So now what I want to do is I want to play this beat back as a whole and just let you guys hear what this track sounds like. First, I'm gonna play the beat without any of the IHNY-2 compression on the beat. So I just want you guys to listen out for what's happening with the beat. Now, like I said, I made a point not to overmix this beat. I wanted to hear what this thing can do to tame frequencies that are a little out of control. So this is the beat unmixed without any of the IHNY compressor on it. So as you're able to hear, there's not a lot of glue in this track. So now this is what it sounds like with the IHNY-2 compressor on just the drums and that main chord, those main chords that I showed you in the beginning of the video. And let's check it out. And so that's it. That is the IHNY-2 compressor. Now, like I said, this thing is incredible at giving you that New York compression sound, but also allowing you to dive in a little bit deeper and tweak those settings to your liking if you don't like that initial punch. I'm really digging this thing. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is this something that you think you're gonna be adding to your arsenal? Are you gonna be checking it out? Let me know how you think it compares to the original IHNY compressor from Baby Audio if you have it. As always, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you can stay notified anytime I drop a new video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.